tell you something about the structures of self-administration at the University of Marburg. So, as you can see, it's a quite complex and very bureaucratic structure, but we won't tell you, or differently, we won't explain every of these different bodies, but concentrate only on the most important some, which are the most important for our work, for our daily work. Matthias and I are also members of the Democratic Left student group here in Marburg, and also students here in Marburg of sociology and political science. And yeah, well, English is a foreign language for both of us, so please, maybe you can help us if you forget the vocabulary. But first of all, after I introduce myself, I would like to know who you are, and maybe you can make a small round of introduction if you want to. So, yes. So maybe who are you? Where are you from? Which group? And so on. Who would like to start?
Maybe from that.
That here?
That's right.
I'm Vijit. I came from Sri Lanka. Represent the University Student Federation in Sri Lanka. Now I am not a student, but I was a member of the action committee. Then now I am living in Italy and present my another political view. Then tomorrow we have a presentation. Tomorrow we bring you some documents and something to illustrate study activities.
Hello, I'm Matthew from Sri Lanka. I'm living in Paris. They organized the student party in the University Student Congress.
Hello, I'm Ansa. I'm from Nepal. I'm not involved with any political parties in Nepal, but I'm involved in an alternative movement at the University.
Okay, I'm Matej. I'm from Slovenia, and I'm part of the Iskra. It's an organization that is a new one. It is like a movement, a student movement, and we also have a few seats in the student organization. We'll talk more about it later in the afternoon.
Okay. Rami from Lebanon, and I'm representing the Alternative Student Movement, ASM, and I'm part of the founders of the movement that started last year.
Morning, I'm Joe. I'm originally from Congo. I'm based in South Africa. I'm representing the Congolese Student Organization.
I'm in Sri Lanka, in the Student Union in Sri Lanka.
Hey, I'm Alex. I'm from Romania, from Bucharest. I'm part of a few organizations in Romania called Spiritual Militia and CRIM. Some weird ones. I'm part of the Black Bloc in Romania, and I'm here to talk about the student occupations in Bucharest and Cluj-Napoca that happened in 2011 and 2012. And I'm still a student anthropologist.
My name is Carl. I came from Canada, Montreal, specifically. I'm here to talk about the student strike that went in 2012. So for that, I'm also an activist involved in many political projects and stuff like that. So I'm here to share and to learn from everybody.
Good morning, my name is Fernando. We live in Italy, country in Sri Lanka. We are also a student from Union Sri Lanka.
Hi, I'm Rana.
from Austria. We're like part of a grassroots activist group.
It's an organization that tries to politicize students. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, I'm Ivan. I'm also from Iskra, from Slovenia, and I'm also a student of physics. And well, what the others forget to say, we're a socialist organization, so we are looking forward to making like the leftist connections like, in Europe or in the world generally. So that's basically why we are here.
Okay, I'm Dina. I just graduated from economics. I went to Car University, and now I'm working on the regional program, Economic Integration of Women in the MENA region, GIZ, which is the German Cooperation Development in Egypt. And I'm not involved in any political party yet because, you know, the education in Egypt is still fragile, and I can fit I can see like the party that can fit my opinions or my expectations for the next year, but I hope I can find this.
I'm Clara. I'm also from Iskra in Slovenia, so basically nothing to add. So I try to speak up a bit because in Marburg are the student parliament and the student union. And Mo, Matthias and I and some different people, Zuhal also, are still members of the student union. I was a member of it for a quite long period of time. So maybe first of all I will introduce to you the student union, which is quite, for us the most important one, because this is also the executive power, so to say. So the parliament makes the decisions and we have to execute the decisions of the parliament, so to say, but it's not quite the same. Okay. Okay, if you want, Matthias can explain this picture, but yes, never mind. Maybe it's not so important. Okay, so now let me start with the student parliament because this explains the structure of the student union. So the student parliament, you can really compare it to a state parliament. You have, instead of parties, political parties, you have student groups. Some of them are linked to a political party, like the leftist party or the conservative party or the liberal party, doesn't matter. And some of them are independent. For example, the Democratic Left is an independent political student group. So there is no link to a party. And the student parliament is voted annually by all enrolled students of a university. So it's the same in Marburg, but not every student elects. That's a problem we have here also. So last time we had maybe out of 22,000 students, how many elected?
30%.
30%. So, and the student parliament votes, it's a definition, votes and controls the student union, which is not really true, but you have still some free space where you have no control, so to say. And it also adopts the budget and can practically engage with all affairs of the student union. So it's like the highest, really the highest student self-administration body we have here. It calls itself to be the democratic one. Well, it calls itself this way. Okay, and what is quite interesting is that members of the student parliament can submit requests. For example, when we have a right demonstration somewhere, they can ask to support a mobilization against this right demonstration and, for example, to pay buses or something. So when a majority of the student parliament members vote for this request, it has to be executed. It has to be executed. So that's why student parliament is quite important, and it is the will of the whole membership or student membership, so to say. So this is the symbolic meaning of the student parliament. So yes, and the student union is being voted also in the student parliament. So the student union is also a coalition. We have now a coalition which consists of, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 different student groups. Leftist, most of them leftist. Green and leftist, right. But the future coalition will be a bit different. So we have different student groups which builds the coalition, and you have as the student self-represent or student union works like how to say, well, it has different departments, and there are students working in those departments for different issues. For example, we have a department for social issues, or a department for international network, or a department for anti-racism or anti-fascism. And I don't know what is another example for it. Mobility, yeah, which is responsible for our semester ticket, which we can use to, for example, to move not only in Hesse but also in different federal states, which is quite very good. And we also can use fast trains, not only the slow. Yeah, it makes really a big difference. It's easier to get from here to Frankfurt, for example. You don't have to pay more for it, and you need less of time. Okay. So yes. So the student union, and this is only a definition, a formal one, is responsible for promoting the social side of student life, looking after the needs of students with children and students with disabilities, promoting the spiritual, music and sporting interests of students, student matters in general, and the promoting of interregional and international cooperation among students. So this is really a formal definition. Not all of this is part of our intern work, but we try to respond to all, to the needs of students, being a whole group, not the individual needs of students. For example, people who are members of fraternities. Do you know what this is? Do everybody of you know what it is? A fraternity or association?
Like in the States? Like in movies in the States?
Well,
No.
In Germany, there's a different history of them.
yeah.
So they're really.
I mean, what is their role, their main role as fraternities?
It's a group of conservative men. Only men are allowed to be a member of this group, and they make nationalist policy. They are collected together under a bigger group, that's the Deutsche Burschenschaft, and they do many racist and fascist stuff. So, but there are different sorts of this brotherhoods or connections. Here in Marburg there are more than in another city in Germany. Here are a lot of groups. Yeah.
In the history of Germany, they were really active in bringing the fascism to the German high schools. So before Hitler took power in Germany, they were really active to change the mind of the students.
So they're really a kind of a student representative of certain rights, ideologies.
Yeah, definitely.
And you have the brotherhoods and fraternities on one hand, on the other hand you have those associations which are sometimes mixed, women and men, but still we refuse or we refuse them as a group and as a student union as a whole. So we try to make policy or campaigns against them in the public. So this is quite a very important part of our internal work.
Yeah, how active are they? I mean, are they really representative for, let's take Marburg, are they really representative for the students or?
Once a year there is a quite big event in here. It calls Shoppen. It's in July, I think. They meet all together in a very public place in the city, and yeah.
They're not representing a really, really big group, but they're quite influential in German society because the people who are studying in these fraternities are getting really high positions in German society, right? And they're lawyers and they're political and so on.
But weren't they abolished after the war? I mean, weren't so nobody even tried to abolish them?
Before the fascists took power in Germany, they they dissolved by themselves. But now they are saying that they dissolved by themselves, but in fact they dissolved because they wanted to get part of the NSDAP, the party of Hitler. So they moved to the big fascist party, and now they are saying we dissolved by ourselves, but that's not the true story.
But are they connected with like each faculty has its own personality, or just
no, but maybe
just in like this extracurricular sort of groups like that?
But many students who study, for example, law or economics are part of those brotherhoods.
Sounds familiar.
And the very big problem is they have their own houses, and what they do, like every winter semester, is to catch new people. And they, they have, or they rent flats or rent rooms for very little money. And people who come to Marburg have usually a big problem to find any place to sleep or to live in. And so it's easy then to, to get involved with them. They are quite nice and very polite and calm and have parties, and you meet very many different people at once. So it's quite, attractive for people who don't know who they are to go there and to link with the group. So that's a big problem. And we, every winter semester, we try to warn the new students
But
who finances them if they can afford this kind of campaigns sort of to attract new members?
They financed by the former members of them. So if you study with them, you have to pay, when you have a job, like a small amount of money of your salary each month to your fraternity. And that's the reason why they have a really big network in the German society. Yeah. And if you're a member of it in the study time, you're a member for your whole life.
Yeah, but do they have specific actions? I mean, you told me about, the enrollment program with students offering flat or free or cheap flats, but do they have other specific actions, like cash? I mean, actually, I don't know, engaging in racial discourse or
Well, like being exclusive. They exclude people, for example, of a certain skin color or something.
Yeah, that's an action. Yeah. That's true.
Or they also have their own marches at certain times of the year. Annually, they have certain marches, where they celebrate themselves.
They also have anthems, like each fraternity has its own anthem and flag and so on. It's a bit crazy.
And they're quite active in political discourse, so they're holding speeches and try to influence the public opinion to some different things like they are saying that Germany should be strong again in Europe, and they're holding speeches about Jewish people and the history in Germany and so on.
Oh, okay, okay.
And as I said, they are really influential in society because they have a lot of lawyers. For example, yes, now it's a really big company and influenced in financial business, and they have really a lot of members of fraternities, and they are, I think, the owner is the richest man of Germany, and they are so influential in economic business and so on.
And they also organize lectures, so they invite quite important people from all over Germany and even maybe beyond Germany to, introduce their kind of
Discourse, ideology. Yeah, so basically they're a cell for a certain type of ideology, a youth cell.
I mean, that's pretty creepy, but is it just the case in Marburg or throughout Germany?
You have them in nearly all cities, but there are some cities where you have really a lot of them. It's Marburg, Jena, Heidelberg, and I think that the mayor is in Dresden. Yeah. There's some of the really traditional cities because they are quite old Burschenschaften and fraternities. So you have only in some cities this really big problem.
But Marburg is considered a leftist city, right?
You have a strong leftist part and a strong fascist part.
So yeah, this is one example for our work we have here. What we also do is when you're a student, you have the possibility to come to the student union and, for example, to get legal or social advice for free. So we have people we pay for who are 2 times per week there and just wait for questions from students and so on. And what we actually try is to articulate and stand for students' interests, as a status group. And what we do is also to fund grassroots groups projects. So when you, for example, are a group and you have no financial support, you can come to us and make a request or so to say.
Present the idea.
Yeah, and so we can finance or we can support you, sometimes even a lot of money, just to make the project. So it's a quite easy way to get some money, which is not that easy in Marburg as a whole.
As funding is concerned for your union, how do you get it?
Yeah, so every student in Marburg is automatically a member of the student union and pays each semester €8.70 as a fee, so to say, and this is our budget. And we have a structure in the union which is kind of, director for finance, so to say, but it's only a student, so his or her job is to
administrate
the money. So I've done this for 2 years, for example. So, but you always have to correspond with the coalition. So everything you do is a really basis democratic basis we have.
It's always a political decision who gets the money from these groups who are asking for money to make their project. So it depends on which groups are in the students' union.
So basically it's a form of crowdfunding, but if a person does not want to participate in the union, does he have that option?
This is not possible yet, and it's good. But no, really, this is good. But this is a discussion, for example, or a topic which is forced by the conservative student groups here in Marburg. So they want the students not to compulsory membership, not to have to pay it.
Okay.
So not to be forced to pay it.
Mm-hmm.
But this can mean that the student union won't exist anymore.
Yeah, I know it could turn into a debate about this, but I was just asking, just to see what's the relationship between the union and, newly accepted students.
Yeah. Yeah, and some problems of the union are that the students, or some, let's say, conservative student groups say that we are very intransparent, nobody knows what we really do with the money, we pay only ourselves, we do nothing. This is a campaign against leftist students' union. So this is something which we really have to deal with now at the moment. And it's the same problem every year for elections.
Yeah,
So,
does the university actually contribute to unions in any way, financially?
no,
No.
we are completely independent.
Okay.
How much is the membership? I mean, how much?
€8.70 per semester.
Per semester. This is not much.
No.
But we have 22,000 students, or 23,000 students now. And so you can imagine how much money that is.
Yeah.
That's over 300,000 euro per year. It's quite a lot.
100,000.
300,000.
Even more.
Yeah.
But still, we have to pay for stuff. We have administration stuff in the union, which for 2 people who have, or even more people, the social advice and we also pay for the social advice and the legal advice. So a lot of people who get some money. This is the money we pay them. So.
Well, our student union gets 4.5 million euros per year. And we're going to explain it later what happens with the money.
On the national level?
On the university level.
Okay. But do you have to is this the money also for the semester ticket, or is it?
We'll explain in our presentation at 2 p.m. So,
So what else? Yeah, and the decisions about which groups will get some financial support and which not. We decide this in weekly meetings. Like we sit together and discuss many hours mostly. And this is it's very important that we work on consensus.
Oh, you reach consensus. It's very important that you reach consensus.
So that's why the decision sometimes
Takes a lot.
What else? Did I forget something? Yeah. And you're elected for 1 year, so we have always like 1 year period of being in a student union. So this was the student self-administration bodies, and Matthias will every student which works for the student union gets a little money as a Ausgleich, compensation for his or her work. It's not very much. You still have to work if you don't have a support like BAföG, which is a student loan, which is a student loan. So you still have to work, but still it's a little money, just to to cover
150 euros. It's 150 per month.
Oh, okay. It basically covers the 250 you said per semester, wasn't it?
Well, it's 150 you get from the student union. Yeah, and 250 you need to pay per semester.
So.
Okay, as you see, we have a really complicated structure. You don't need to understand it because it's in German language. And Justina just talked about she talked about the students' parliament, the representative body, the ASTA, so like the union, and we talked about she talked just about this little part of the structure of our university. And
well, this is quite independent from the university. Matthias will tell you something about structures which are linked to the university structure. So it's kind of a little bit different.
Yeah, and to explain these academic self-administrations, you have to know that each university in Germany is divided into different faculties. So we are part of the faculty for social science and philosophy, and there's, for example, a faculty for medical studies and for law studies and so on. So we have maybe 21 faculties, and each faculty has its own faculty board. That's this one, and this faculty board is responsible for all academic and organizational issues. For example, the study regulations, like where it's written down how you have to study, what you have to study, and how long you have time for studying. And they're responsible for the staff at the faculty, for example, to bring some new professor to the faculty, or to get more assistant lecturers and so on. And more they're responsible for all organizational stuff, like the structure of the faculty, how many sub-departments there are and so on. So it's really important for the level of the faculty, and that's for you as a student, it's a direct contact. So I think it's the most important word for you in your study, because the study regulations are the biggest problems if you have problems in your study. And at this faculty board, there are always at every faculty more professors than all other members together. So you have students on the faculty board, you have administrational staff on the faculty board, and you have assistant lecturers, but always more professors than all other groups together. That's because, we actually don't know why it's like this, that the professors are always in the majority, but that's a really big problem, because they can kind of do what they want, because they win every election at the faculty board.
Yeah, you can imagine how little the influence of students is then when you are in a minority.
Yeah, right. And the students members of the faculty board are elected by the students faculty council. At each faculty you have a students council, that's here, for example. And all students of the faculty elect the students faculty council. And that's like an open group, so you can join them. But they have some spokesmen, and they are elected by all students of the faculty. And these spokesmen are in the faculty board. It's quite complicated, but that's the way you can have influence on the faculty board.
It's also very bureaucratic structure we have here.
Yeah. And they are elected once a year. Yeah, once a year there are elections for the faculty board. And so if you want, you can be a member. But as I said, the influence of the students is really low. But therefore, you can use the Students Faculty Council, that's this open group of students, and they get money from the student union, so we give them money, and they can like do some presentations or do campaigns at their faculty as well. So they have some resources in order to do their work as well.
So basically the respective council, that you said, right, it's actually only consultative, it doesn't have any real influence, on the board,
on the faculty board?
Yeah. It doesn't have any, it's just consultative, it's just giving information from the students, or how does it work?
You have the students have 2 seats in each faculty board, and of course they can vote, but they are a minority.
Yeah, it's a minority.
If the other groups, like the professors, are open-minded, you can talk with them.
Okay.
So in our faculty of social sciences, it's possible to talk with them.
But you mentioned the specific council, the one
The students?
Student council, yeah. So it's not part of the faculty board.
No.
There are 2 students on the faculty
There are
board.
2 students, but they are coming from the students' council.
Ah, okay, I understand.
Yeah, so they are like the spokesman of the student council. But the student council is always an open group. You're automatically a member of the students council, and you can join them or not.
Okay.
And so there you can talk about the issues you want to bring into the faculty board and so on.
Yeah, but it's always also the other way around good, because we are getting information from the faculty which we can use to make our policy or that kind.
But the most important thing is that they have their own amount of money, so they can do some political work with the money as well, the students board. All of the issues which are not in the responsibility of the faculty board are in the responsibility of the academic senate. And that's the most important board of the university and the most influential board. And they are dividing the money of the university between the faculties. So as you can imagine, that's quite, there are big debates always. It's sometimes really loud and hectic and so on. And the most important thing they can do is that they can change the regulations for the whole university. For example, we have the so-called Hochschulrat. There are some external people from from companies and from some how to explain that? That's a so-called independent board of influential people from German society. They are members of big companies and members of the state and from foundations and so on. And they should give advice to the university. Of course, they are always trying to give the advice that we should spend less money and be more effective and so on. And
they actually also have the influence on concepts of your studies, like saying, oh, you shouldn't, maybe you should focus your studies more on practical things, etc., or put more emphasis on that thing. Do they have this kind of influence also?
They are responsible and they shall do that, but the Senate can pass it or not. So they have the really last chance for a decision.
Yeah, the problem is that nobody really knows how they work and what they decide, so it's really all top secret.
So you don't have a student representative in that body?
So
because we do.
It's a closed door.
Yeah, they are talking behind closed doors.
How are they assigned? Who assigns them?
The Ministry for Education and the president of our university.
Really?
They have to agree.
So there are no, elections within every faculty.
So they're actually handpicked in a way.
Yeah, it's due to a change in the state law of Hessian. So it's in most of the federal states in Germany we have this administrative advisory body, and that was something the conservative party in Germany did for the state laws. But they don't have any direct impact, but they always have to sign each decision of the Senate. So the Senate, where students are member of, want to change the federal, the all regulations for the University of Marburg. They have to assign it. So and they have some.
And the students have never started a campaign to get a student member in this body, because we have a similar body and we have a student member there, and this turns out upravni odbor, tam imamo člane. And it turns and it turns out to be very useful, because, for example, in September, this body wanted to propose an investigation which was as big as the annual budget of the university, and nobody except for them really know about what was going on. And the student member blocked this investigation. And it would,
if students would be a member of them, they would always be the minority, because there's a law in Germany that students are not do not have the right to have a majority for like decisions for studying.
Maybe because they could leak information.
Yeah, but our goal is to abolish this.
Yeah.
Well, because we don't need it.
Yeah.
There's an academic senate, and students are part of the senate, and professors are part of the senate, and so on. And this is the highest decision-taking body of the university. So we have a decision-taking body for the whole university. You do not need advice from like institutions or businessmen and so on. There's no need to. Okay, so we have this senate, and that's kind of the most important academic body for the university, and they elect and control the presidents. We have one president, 5 or 7 vice presidents, and one chancellor. They are responsible for having contact with the Ministry of Education, so it's quite important which people are elected there. At this time we have a more or less progressive president. She is quite good, but a few years ago we had a more conservative president, and she was really against student strike and so on. Yeah, like the faculty boards, the academic senate, and the students' faculty councils are the representative bodies of the academic self-administration. And I want to conclude with the limits of impact we can have and the impacts we can have. So we think that the possible impacts of our work can be like arguing for better study regulations, so we can try to improve them, try to like some study regulations are really like going to school and
the timetable,
yeah. And
fixed times where you have to make what.
So that's regulation. Yeah, you can try at the level of the faculty boards to deregulate the study, so to have more freedom in your studies. That's a chance you have. We can support projects at the level of the students, faculty boards, or at the level of the students' union. We have a lot of money for supporting independent projects. We can like do public relations for students' interests. We are doing campaigns and try to speak to politicals and so on. We can support demonstrations or strikes with money or with organizational support.
Have you ever done, I think I asked more about this, have you ever done direct action, I mean strikes, etc.? So you have.
My department, there was a strike in the building of the department, and we
occupied the corridor of the department.
And after that we since then we don't have any
attendance lists.
Yeah, we don't have any attendance lists for the seminars and so on again. That was a really big issue for us. And a really important thing what the student union is doing is giving legal advice and giving social counseling. So we have a lawyer who's giving advice for students, like if you have problems with your house or something else, you can get legal advice from him for less money, for free, of course, yeah. And we have social counseling. In Germany, you have different possibilities to get money from the state for your study. So you have a kind of loan and a kind of support, and it's really complicated to get it. So we have 3 people who are giving advice on this part of getting money. I think these are the positive impact factors we can have, but of course we have limits. We have financial restrictions. We are not allowed to give money to anybody. We always have to explain why this money is in the interest of students. We are not allowed to give money to I don't know, to homeless people, for example. We are just could explain that this is in the interest of students, but it's really difficult. We have problems with resources. That's on the one hand the financial problem. 300,000 euro are not so much that we can do anything, but in addition we have problem with I would call manpower. We don't have a lot of people. We are like now 10 active people in the students union, and that's not much. We could be much more. At the part of the academic self-administration, students are always in the minority, so you can of course talk with professors, but you have to really convince them that your idea is good. And really influential for our work is the political constellation of the federal state level. So they can change the higher education law, and if they just say that we don't get any money again, then we can stop our work. So that's really important how the political constellation of the federal state and the Republic of Germany is. Yeah.
And the problem we have, which is linked to the manpower issue, is also that we observe that every year, like, less students are really interested in political issues, you know. So this is a quite big problem, which has to do with a new bachelor-master system. We don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, it's actually you have less time for extracurricular work. I mean, with this system, it's like being in the primary school again, not in the
But it's
high
not
school.
only the time, you know. I think people think in a bit different way because it's so much, you know. You have to study the way they tell you to do. So you have to finish your master in 4 semesters. You think you have to, or in 6 semesters with bachelor degree, and that's why you think I do best for my career if I concentrate only on my study instead of doing, you know, here and there.
Die autonom vergessen. Die autonome Referate.
Oh yeah. What we also do have is autonomous departments, so to say. We have four of them, and the 5th one is a library for feminist science. And what they do is they do policy and politics for this very specific status group. So, for example, we have a department for lesbians and women, lesbians, and
LGBT.
No.
We have one autonomous department for gay people, one for lesbians and women, for foreign students,
and for people with disabilities. So 4 and 1 library for feministic science.
and we are not influential on them. We just give them money, but they can do what they want with the money. So they are totally autonomous from us.
And they are elected by each status group. So, for example, gay women elect the people representing them in this department.
And
So it's quite a different structure.
And they are fixed, they can't be cancelled from year to year, like the political students group and the students union. They are fixed, they can't be removed from the self-administration of the students, so they are always there. And
Okay, so they're always present.
We have a kind of our own law, so to say. It's not really a law, but it's
Custom.
it's not a custom, it's written down. It's our own regulation.
Okay.
So they are written down in this regulation. You need a majority of the student parliament members to change it, and it's not that. Yeah.
So it is to protect if the conservative
Yes.
take power, so...
But if they have to serve the student parliament, they can do it.
can change it. So that was it.
A final statement which we can discuss is that we claim that we need to use this to take institutional structures. They are given by the state. We claim that we have to use them and use the money for progressive politics, but by doing this, we always have to explain and enlighten people about the state structures and what are the problems out of them. So, yeah, you can say. We should use them, this state-given structures, to work against the capitalist society which gives the structure.
So let's have a go.
So we try to undermine those structures, putting in our own topics, progressive politics, so to say.
Thank you for your beautiful presentation about the student structure. I have only one question regarding the tuition fee. If I do get you well, you say that all the federal state have abolished the tuition fee. Yeah, almost. So I want to ask about the charges for international students. Are they very high in different states, or there is a standard, a flat state for all the international students? Regarding the tuition fee, of course.
Yeah, and Farah maybe knows because she is from.
Yeah, I'm an international student too, but I pay the same amount of money everybody pays.
So what we have is like every student needs to pay every semester kind of administrative fee, which is about 270 euros. This is not a tuition fee, this is for administration stuff, for your semester tickets and so on. Not only, but also. This is what every oriented person has to pay. And but you don't have to pay tuition fees.
No, I just paid the 287 euros.
Okay.
But as an international student, to get a visa to come to Germany, you have to have a bank account with between 6,000 and 7,000 euros on it.
What the fuck?
And you're only allowed to spend a little part of it monthly. So it's, you probably spend all of it
So
at
actually,
once for a time.
they're asking for a guarantee that you can self-sustain.
But this issue is the responsibility of each state, and as Justina said, there are these two southern states, like Bavaria and Baden-Württemberg. Yeah, but in the second southern state, which was a long time ago in conservative hands, they just abolished tuition fees, but they want to have now tuition fees for international students. And that's a really big debate in Germany, because a lot of people are saying, yeah, okay, if people are coming here, they have to pay. And they just want to have a free study and a free education for German people.
But there are like few universities they charge like quite a higher fee, such as Prague University, they have tuition fee around 2,000 euros.
Yeah. So I think the fees for international students differ or range between 500 and maybe 1,000 euros per semester. I'm not sure, but something about that. And I think still some federal states do charge tuition fees for international students.
They try to get the money on another way, like when you do your second semester, or when you studying longer than it's allowed, or you're studying another way like it's usual. So they try to get the money again in, and yeah.
Okay.
So we have a similar structure, and in Ljubljana, and in our presentation we're gonna present how we're trying to transform this structure in order to make it more useful for a progressive fight, and so in order to mobilize more students. So maybe it will be interesting, or it's going to be complementary to your presentation. And the problems we are facing are bigger than yours here. So I mean, it doesn't work all the way that nice as nicely as it does here. Mostly because We are the only leftist student group at the moment, but yeah, more it's gonna be interesting.
Propaganda.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah, and this thesis you said that you have to use the money for like a progressive fight. I would just like to emphasize the support for this because we have a similar theory. I mean, it's also logical because it's in line with the mission of the student organization to fight for the student interests, which are clearly in a clash with the capitalist interests.
So now you can create a transnational
So do you have some more questions about details?
Any of this administrative fees you said was like this 250 or something?
250, yeah. I think this semester was even 270 almost.
But the biggest,
What exactly is it for? I don't really get that. Is that a semester ticket?
yeah, the biggest part is the semester tickets. Like
What ticket?
So you pay as a student per semester, you pay the fee for a semester ticket, which means you can move in Marburg, in Hesse, and even beyond Hesse for free with trains, buses, and so on, for public transfer system.
yeah, it's better. You can use every bus, every subtrain, every fast train.
But it's mandatory, you have to buy this. You
Yeah.
have to-
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, under certain circumstances, you don't have to have it. For example, if you have disabilities and you can't use a train, or if you
Are not in Marburg.
are out of Marburg for a quite long period of time, or I don't know what are
Like a trainee in not here, and you can prove that you are not in Marburg.
Yeah.
But the price is really cheap for driving the train in Germany. And due to the fact that everyone has to buy it, it's cheap. So if it would be, if you could decide on it, it would cost the double or the third. I don't know.
So it's a collective demand of students from Marburg.
And how the transparent are the student council in German universities? And is there any public accounting, or is there any accounting system after the term of the student council?
What accounting system?
Public accounting, how just to ensure that the money, the amount they receive has been spent in that field.
You mean at the university level or the
Yeah,
students'
at the
union level?
student union level.
Student union level. So what we have a budget, and this budget has to be voted for. Agreed. Okay, so this budget has to be introduced in the student parliament, and they have to agree on it. So this is like an assurance not to spend money for things the student parliament doesn't want it to. So, was that the question?
And there are some legal restrictions, of course. So we are not allowed to give all the money to us.
Or people who are victims of state repression, we also can't just spend money to support them, right? It's also more difficult.
Sometimes we have to be a little bit creative to find ways to support people who need money. So, but it's still possible.
And do you have any programs with the student council from abroad, if they want to organize or they want to cooperate for a certain project or issues? Is there any funding support or technical support available for a student council from abroad?
From where?
From abroad, if our student council wants to cooperate with student council in Marburg, is there do you have any budget or any technical support or some sort of support?
Well, the problem is there have always to be a link to the students, to or to students from Marburg. So if you have, for example, if you have some student groups in your country which want to, or who want to organize a project with us together. So I think, yes, we can manage it and support this project, you know, but there is not a funding or a specific funding for you, just for everything. So we always need to, to deal, so to say, of that objective. But maybe it's different on a university or university level. I can't say anything about that.
I have a question. I'm still not, I mean, can you explain more about the Senate and how, I mean, okay, the Minister of Education actually appoints every member of the Senate?
No, this is the board, this is not the Senate. This is the highest, the Hochschulrat is this one.
Okay.
This is not the Senate. The Senate is a democratic body.
And the Senate is elected by the groups of the university. So the professors elect their members into the Senate, the students elected to the Senate.
Okay, so it was specific, I didn't understand. I thought the Senate, which was, for me, it was obviously something.
No. But every decision the Senate makes needs to be signed by this Hochschulrat.
Do they have the discretion, like, can you say we will not sign that? Or do they have to sign it if the Senate agrees?
I mean, what's the reality? I mean, okay, on paper, that's the way, but...
Yeah, I mean, are they really just a consultative body? Yeah, or do they have any real decision-making power?
In the law for higher education in Hesse, it's written down that they should always give the opinion to everything. So they are always asked for, and in most of the cases, because they are really not into it, they are not professionals, they do not have any knowledge of all the stuff, they just sign it because what should they do? I don't know. And in Marburg, the members are not that problematic. But in some cities, at some university, they really say, no, we want to have more economical studies and so on. Then they go to the Ministry of Education, because they always have good connections to the ministry, because the ministry elects the half of the members, and they are like doing advocacy for that.
Which is calling das allgemeinpolitische Mandat, which says that we are not allowed to give opinion about general political issues as a student union.
But it's always in some way possible to link it with student issues. If there are fascists demonstrating in Germany or the National Democrats, we always can say that before the fascists in Germany took power, students were a really big group who had to get them in power, and so we always can say that's in our students' interest that this will never happen again, so we demonstrate against them. There's always some way we can find.
Yeah, but you're not allowed to give opinion about, I don't know, some federal economic policy or European Union policy or something like that.
Not directly, but again, then you can say...
yeah, also just in the connection with the students.
Yeah. We are not allowed to give a statement for about the elections in Germany, which took place a few weeks ago, but we could say this might have really big influence on our politics. So that's something we could say, and that's something we could spend money on. We could make a campaign against the new educational laws in Germany, but we could not make a campaign against the new people who there or something.
Yeah, we really have to be very careful, because someone or other student or a conservative student have always the possibility to sue us if we, how to say, if we break this restriction.
And it happened in the past as well. I mean, the conservative group, they regularly try to sue the student body for stating things which, in their view, we were not allowed to say.
And it's enough if you only have, you know,
Кажем,
a
за
flyer or
конечно,
something, you
teacher
know,
is
or a
good.
leaflet where is something written, it should be there.
Така ще
Съм такова, мимо такова лично предлог закон.
But there are also campaigns, you know, where we try to fight this regulation, where we try to, yeah, so it's being abolished so that the student union can also position itself to general political issues. Yeah. But so far it was not successful.
And where's the democratic left on the spectrum, on the political spectrum?
We are member, some people are not a member of
No, it's like, where are you on the spectrum? For example, you have like this League students, and then you have like the Antifa and like the feminists and all this stuff, and then you have the rightists.